Good morning, everyone. In this talk, I will discuss all basic formats and fundamental strategies of the International English Language Testing Systems, shortly called as IELTS. So please keep in mind, this video is especially and specifically made for IELTS beginners who have no even basic knowledge related to IELTS exams. I'm Kamal Asghar, a student of MS Chemistry in South Korea. If you are preparing for advanced IELTS exam, then you may skip this video because you must be familiar with all those things which I'm gonna share in this video. Two types of IELTS exam. One is IELTS General and another is IELTS Academic. IELTS General test needs to be taken by people who moving to English-speaking countries for the purpose of permanent residency or job. But IELTS Academic has to be taken by the people who are moving to English-speaking countries for the purpose of higher studies or any other courses. And IELTS evaluate your English on the basis of two skills, receptive skills and productive skills. The receptive skills are listening and reading, while on the other hand, productive skills are writing and speaking. The overall timing for IELTS exam is almost 2 hours and 45 minutes. And you won't have any break in between the tests. But the IELTS speaking is gonna take place on the same day or in span of 7 days before and after the other tests like listening, reading, and writing. This is overall band range of IELTS starting from 1 to 9, and different universities have different requirement, and different countries have different requirement of IELTS. For example, Oxford University has IELTS requirement 7 and no band less than 6.5. And some universities have requirement 6.5, no band less than 6. And the timings and number of questions are mentioned here. You can pause the video and just read these all time parameters. And definitely there must be one reason for appearing IELTS, and many students are confused regarding either they should appear for IDP or British Council. So I want to give answer for this question that there is no difference between the British Council IELTS and IDP IELTS, as the exam formats and questions are the same on a particular date of exam. Now, how to calculate IELTS band? You don't need to calculate the IELTS band because it's just a responsibility of your organizing body, either IDP or British Council. And this is a formula for calculating IELTS band: speaking, writing bands, listening, and reading bands. These are bands are sum all these bands and divide by 4. And there is no rule, just I assign these rules by myself so that the student can easily calculate their IELTS band. Even though these bands are reported on your report card. So just read these rules, and I just give some examples. 8 candidates, different candidates appear in IELTS, and they have got different bands in different skills and overall skills. Overall band scores are mentioned on the extreme right side. So please pause the video and just read these rules. First of all, I want to talk about speaking test. But definitely, I will make a separate and comprehensive video for writing, listening, reading, and speaking test. And if feasible, I will try to solve some sample test as well on the video in next coming videos. So the speaking test has 4 parts: part 1, part 2, and part 3. Part 1 is brief introductions, and in part 2, examiner will give you a cue card and you have to discuss for 1 to 2 minutes. And part 3 is discussion. In IELTS speaking, there is no specific number of questions, and so examiners our organizing body just set a rule that these 4 parameters are tested in your IELTS speaking: fluency and coherence, lexical resources, grammar range and accuracy, and pronunciation. And all have equal contribution. In the part 1 of the IELTS speaking, examiners generally ask just a very simple question related to your personal life, about introduction, your personal introductions. And these questions are generally asked like, what's your name? Where are you from? Can I see your identification? Describe your hometown, describe your home like this, your sports, movies and foods, favorite foods, family, jobs. All these questions are asked in your part 1 of the IELTS speaking. And IELTS speaking part 1 is almost 4 to 5 minutes. I would like to give some suggestions for your IELTS part 1. Try as much possible, give longer answers, more detailed answers without going off the topic. If you go off the topic, then definitely examiner will interrupt you and he will ask another questions. And try to use a range of vocabularies to make your answer more descriptive, and find a way to express yourself, even if you even don't know a word. For example, if he asks, please tell me something about your car, and you have no car, then just express that you have a car and just say something about your car. And the last one is try to use some longer, more grammatically complex sentences, even if you make some mistakes. Just don't stick with simple sentences, as you may be familiar with some grammar nature types of sentence like simple sentence, compound sentence, and complex sentence. So in complex sentences, you know that there is one independent class and one dependent class. So try to make some complex sentences in your talk. Now I'll speaking part 2. First of all, you cannot change the topic because examiner will give you a cue card and there must be a cue card topic. This is just example of cue card. He will give you a cue card and examiner give you some notes and pencil to note something if you want. And there are 3 bullet points. The last one is most important. You should spend majority of your time on last part. And as much my opinion, at least you should say 2 to 3 sentences on first and 2 bullet points. For IELTS speaking part 2, I would like to suggest start with an opening phrase like, I'm going to tell you about most important choice which I ever made in my life. I'd like to talk about the one of the most important choices in my life, like these things, and make 1 to 2 sentences about each bullet points. But the last one is most important. You should say more sentences. And there must be some strong finishing. Just don't just finish your sentence in a wrong way. Use like some sentence like, that's why I feel that this one was very important choice for me in my life. And other phrases, just pause the video and read these suggestions. IELTS speaking part 3 is a open-ended questions and natural conversation. Examiner will ask you questions related to the topic which he has given you in part 2 on the cue card. The topic was mentioned. So for the part 2, my suggestions are like add an example from your own life while talking to him, while giving answer of the questions, and some example if possible from your friend's life, family life, whatever you have an example. And speculate. Here speculate means talk about all possibilities and discuss the other sides of arguments as well. Add reasons to support your opinion. Use filler phrase. This is important thing. Filler phrase means if examiner asks questions, then just don't start with the answer. Say something like, well, this is very good questions. That's nice, like these things. So just use some filler phrase. When you use filler phrase, you will get some idea about your answer and try to interact with the examiner. Now, IELTS second part is IELTS speaking test. No, IELTS listening test. The IELTS listening test bands a number of questions. If you give answer correctly, mentioned here, please pause the video and just see this number of answers and their required bands, respective bands. There are 4 parts: part 1, part 2, part 3, and 4 parts means 4 audio. No, and there is no difference for IELTS academic and IELTS general in the listening test. Both candidates will listen the same audio. And generally, some type of questions are asked in IELTS listening test, like MCQs, map completion, diagram labeling, form completion, like different type of question are asked. So you just make an idea and mind that what type of question you will face in the IELTS listening. And my suggestions to improve this part, you can pause the video and just read the whole suggestions. There are 44 sections and 40 questions. Part 1 and part 2 are social related topics, and section 3 and 4 are generally academic based. And 2 speakers are talking to each other. In this section, maybe 1 speaker is talking to just talking on phone or any other place. But 40 minutes is the total length of this test. 30 minutes for audio, listening the audio, and 10 minutes to transfer your answer from question booklet to the answer sheet. So practice using answer sheet. Whenever you start to practice your IELTS listening on YouTube or any other place, just solve these questions on answer sheets, which is given in the internet. Just download it and try to solve these questions on the answer sheet, IELTS answer sheet. Skim all questions before listening the audio, because each audio has some specific number of questions, and examiner will definitely tell about that per question, from question 1 to 7 you will listen an audio. So just skim the number of questions which he mentioned in the exam in the audio. Keywords are focus on keywords which are mentioned in the questions, then try to listen these keywords in the audio as well. You will hear a recording only once time. The recording will not be repeated again, nor the recording will be paused. So just focus on your hearing test. Use a pencil as much possible, because in case of ball point, you cannot erase the things. Scores are calculated by correct answers. There is no any writing marks or other thing. Number of questions 40, and they just check how many questions you are answered correctly. You can use capital letter, whole capital letter, no problem. And even you can use lowercase. And number of words for each answers, because sometimes they mention no more than 1 word, no more than 2 words. So just read the instruction carefully, how much minimum number of words you can use there. Now the third part is IELTS writing test. IELTS writing consists of report writing and essay writing. And there are also no number of specific questions. So examiner generally check grammar, lexical resources, task achievements, and coherence and cohesions. In IELTS reporting, generally these types of graphs or tables are given. This is just one example. Then you have to write some report. Try to describe the chart for someone who can't see this one. And the suggestions are given here. Task 2 of IELTS writing test is essay writing. This is one example how the questions are asked in the IELTS writing task 2, and some suggestions for improving your task 2. Analyze the task and decide your conclusion after just reading first time, and read, think, and debate with yourself, and understand the questions and plan for answer. Pay attention to plural words used in this task, and plan how many number of paragraphs you will write, and what is the main idea of each paragraph. Now the IELTS reading test also have different type of questions. So these type of questions are asked MCQs based list of headings, true and false. But these are suggestions. If you follow this suggestion, you may increase the strength of your IELTS reading. Read the title of each passage. Don't read slowly, just skim an idea of the title of the paragraph. Don't spend too much time on the answer, and distribute your time like this: 17 minutes for first passage, and 20 minutes for second passage, 23 minutes for third passage, because you will find enough time to transfer all answers from question booklet to your answer sheet. And focus on grammar and spellings, and read the instructions of each questions. You don't need to read the instruction before IELTS reading. This is IELTS, how they check your IELTS reading scores or bands. So the left one is for IELTS academic, right one is for IELTS general. So you can see the difference between these two types of students. Thank you very much for giving your precious time.